Y'all see this haze? Look at this haze. Look at my hand. And the spirit descended on. Look at my hand, bro. This is like when you over here, the spirit is here. Look at this joint. Come over here, less spirit. Come over here, more spirit. Look at that. The sun is over there, literally and supernaturally, spiritually. All right, let's get it. First things first, welcome to CNN right there. I'm KurtKennedy.com. Let's go in. KurtKennedy.com. Right there, right there, right there, right there. Go to KurtKennedy.com and get fit for eternity, man. Stop playing. I got you. All right? On this channel, we take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. Expose. All right? And I forgot to remember. I erased to remember the future, but I'll put it back up there. All right? If you're of the Christian tradition, as I am, if you're a believer, if you're the Lordian, Christian, whatever you find yourself being, you know that tomorrow's not promised to anyone, but that day, the day of the Lord is. So we remember the future. We live in light of that day. All right? Okay, let's have this conversation. All right. So yesterday, I did a video called, Is This a Tough Atheist Question? And it was we looked at briefly a conversation between a apologist, Frank Turek, and a girl, college-age girl, who was asking, does she think he's going to go to hell? And I walked through, I think Frank Turek is a monster, I walked through why I think he could have probably went in a different direction, and there's something that we should do, right? And I've done this before, but whenever you do a concept, a topic on atheists, or mention that in the thing, eventually some atheists will show up in the comment section. So nothing bad, but in that video, or there'll be people who will debunk the notion of hell, like that hell is an eternal place, Jesus never, you get all that kind of stuff. So those kind of comments happen. And so I wanted to today just have a philosophical treatise, if you will, all right? Because there's something that I think, if you're an atheist watching this, I hope you're watching this. And let me just say this. Thank you for wanting the dialogue. I'm not going to go back and forth on a YouTube comment section. And for primarily two reasons. My thumbs are fat. These are big boys and they get sore. And sometimes these comments be like really long on my phone and I'm just not in the mood to engage. I do this. If you want to do a video and tag me and you want to go back, fine. But I'm not going to engage really hard in the comment section. I think conversation is better. I'd love to talk to any atheist if they're willing to have a conversation. If they want to, and we have time, right? But let me say something. This is for the atheists out there and for you believers who, you know, sometimes we struggle with the response to, well, you can't prove there's a God, all that type of stuff. All right. So let's make an assumption. I'm going to ask a question in this and let's have a philosophical conversation. Let's tease this out a little bit, right? What if atheists are right? All right. And let me qualify what I mean, because you don't have to be an atheist essentially to say this. Let's just say, let's for the sake of this discussion, let's just say, what if atheists are right? That there's no God, right? Or let's just say for the people, maybe you're a believer, a Christian, but you are an annihilationist. You believe that hell is not eternal and that people are just going to be destroyed or whatever, right? Let's just say you think that. Or you're an atheist and you don't believe. Let's assume, just for the sake of this conversation, now I'm going to be honest with you, as a Christian, I'm also a pastor. I don't think I will ever in my life, by the grace of God, ever believe that there's no God and will never be on the side of atheism. But for the sake of this conversation, let's assume, what if atheists are right? All right. So I'm in a real succinct way. I'm not trying to defend, because atheism is such a broad category. But in a nutshell, it's people who do not believe that there is a God, that God exists. So they definitely don't believe in the Christian God of the Bible, and they don't believe in any God. Agnostics would believe there's something out there, but they're not sure what, right? So an atheist would say there's no God, none of that stuff, okay? Let's assume for the rest of this talk that atheists are correct, all right? So you're trying to tell me as a Christian that there's no God. So essentially, I'm believing a fallacy, right? I'm believing something false about the world, or I'm being deceived, or some people would think controlled by the religions. Religion was used to control the masses, okay? Let's just say that they're right. There's no God, and what I believe is just a matter of brainwashing and controlling the masses. What if atheists are right? Let's have this conversation, all right? If you're a believer, listen to this. If you're an atheist, walk with me, all right? Let's say you're right. I'm a Christian. I believe that I have to put faith in Jesus Christ because he became a human being. He lived a perfect life because human beings cannot live perfect. The standard that God has is perfection. That Jesus lived a perfect life, right? Chose to do that, but chose to be punished brutally, right? Both physically, being beaten with lashes on his back, spit on, punched in the face, crown of thorns, crucified, right? Nails in his flesh. And he did that because he was taking the punishment for humanity. But it wasn't the physical pain that I discovered, that I just said. It was deeper than that because he took on the wrath of God. Many men, as a matter of fact, when Jesus was killed, there were people on both sides of him that were also being crucified. So crucifixion in and of itself is a big deal, but it wasn't the real pain that Jesus felt, right? There was a pain that we can't understand where he was taking the full wrath of God for humanity. He died on a Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. and he rose on a Sunday morning, and the rest is history, right? That's what I believe. But if you're an atheist, you're telling me that that's not true, that these things are not real. That's all. Let's say you're right. Let's say you're right. Here's my thought to that. If you're right and there's no God, I would imagine that you would presumably believe in something like science, right? The universe, something like that. Okay. Let's say you're right and there's no God, and what I believe is brainwashing me and brainwashing the masses. Here's my pushback to that. What actually am I losing, though, by believing in the Bible and trying to live according to the Bible, right? What actually do I lose by doing that? Like, if you're right and I'm wrong, here's how I'm trying to live. I'm trying to live under certain attributes like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control, all those things. You struggle with those things, but essentially I'm trying to be kind and loving to people, to everyone. Like Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, right? So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to teach my children to do. I have a 16, a 15-year-old, and they're going to be a 13-year-old. So oh my gosh, my 15-year-old just turned 15 yesterday. Where did the time go, right? I got 3 boys. Love them. Gangsters. I'm trying to teach them to be productive members of society, right? I'm trying to teach them to do these things. But because I believe in God, but let's just say my belief is wrong. Let's say when I die, you were right and there's no God. What exactly am I losing by living a life where I'm trying to be essentially a productive member of society? Okay, at the most, I did some things based on something that wasn't true. But in terms of the character that we're talking about, maybe I told people about a God that wasn't true. If you're right, atheist, I made some decisions in hope to please this God that doesn't exist. If you're right, right? Let's say you're right. But for the most part, the moral component and the way that I'm conducting myself in society, what do I lose by that? Like, what do I lose? And let me explain what I mean by asking this question. Let's just say you're like, well, I believe in science, right? If I'm wrong about my religion, I am still living in a scientifically beneficial category. Let me explain what I mean. So if atheists are right and I'm wrong, and if you're a believer and you're wrong, then you're essentially, you could be having more sex, maybe getting higher, using more drugs, getting more drunk. You could be there, like what we call hedonism, right? This like you're missing out on some pleasures of life. Let's just say if atheism is right, then I am not allowing myself to give in to certain temptations like sexual and all these things, right? That's essentially what I'm not going to do if atheists are right. From a scientific perspective, I still am living a productive life, even if there's no God, right? Because scientifically speaking, you do realize that there are some diseases you can only get through sexual intercourse, Like, as far as I know, you don't get syphilis and gonorrhea and some other sexually transmitted diseases. You don't get them by shaking people's hands. You don't get them by eye contact, right? You don't get them by hanging out and having, you don't get them by giving hugs. You get them by sexual intercourse, right? You can do more damage to your body if the more drugs you use, that's more damage to your body. And again, I'm not saying all atheists would say do those things. I'm just saying these are the things that people pursue when they're non-religious, when they don't want to believe in the God of the Bible. They're missing out on these things, right? So if I am not doing those things because I believe in the God of the Bible, what am I actually missing out on? How are atheists better than me? What way is your life improved that's differently than me? Most of you, if you're an atheist, you're still trying to do the same thing. You're probably you're probably married or want to get married, maybe want to be in a loving, lasting relationship. You want to share you want to have a companion. You want to, maybe you have some pets or something like that. Maybe you have children. You want them to be decent members of society, whatever that means, whatever the societal standards are that science and our society has concocted. You're still trying to live a relatively decent life, unless you're just lunched out. You're just wilding, serial killer, all that stuff. For the most part, though, you have a standard of right and wrong that governs how you live, and you want other people to live according to that standard, right? You believe there are consequences for bad behavior, all the things that I believe as a Christian. The difference is you don't believe in the God that I do, and so relatively, if you're right, I am still living a relatively productive life. The only thing that I may be missing out on is just some ideological things, maybe some practical, maybe some more fun, if you will, right? But ultimately, if atheism is right, there's no real considerable damage to me for believing in the Christian God of the Bible. Because atheists are pretty much, many of them, are living according to a standard of good and evil that is good for society, that science would affirm on some level and all of it. Why aren't Christians trying to do the same? Sure, we have faults and we have pastors who sin crazy and we all that's true, but so atheism has the same thing. There are hypocrites in atheism. No one keeps their own conscience. No one has perfectly obeyed their own conscience. So if there is no God, then you are your own conscience. Your right and wrong comes from the societal standards. Everyone has broken the laws of society on some level. Maybe not laws that put you in prison, but you've broken law. You've offended people. You've hurt people's feelings. You've talked about people. We've all done things that are not necessarily good for society, but it happens, right? If atheism is right, then as a Christian, when I die, I don't lose anything by trying to live the way that I'm living. I don't lose anything by trying to teach my kids that maybe I offend some people because I told them to believe in the God that I believe in. And if atheism is right and that God isn't true, I offended some people. But let's just be clear. You can offend people by butting in line. You can offend people by almost cutting them off on the road. You can offend people by just thinking that Michael Jordan is better than LeBron. And we know that's true, right? You can offend people for anything. I mean, you ever been to a movie theater and been annoyed because a person was talking too much in the theater? You can be offended. I remember one time I took my kids to see Madagascar Part 3, fam. That's a cartoon, right? I took my kids to see Madagascar Part 3. It's a cartoon, fam, right? I'm sitting here watching the movie. My 3 sons are right beside me. And it's a cartoon. And in the cartoon, this woman, the evil woman, was riding some motorcycle on top of a moving train to try to catch this lion, jumps off of the train, does a backflip, rolls on the ground and gets up, running up, something like that. Why the dude behind me, kid you not, I'm not making this up, and don't make me laugh. The dude that was behind me said this under his breath. Yeah, right. I paused and I almost turned back to look at him, but the Lord stopped my head. No, son, don't do it. I was about to be like, fam, it's a cartoon. Of course they're going to do this stuff. It's not real. I don't know what the dude was thinking or talking about, right? You can get offended at the dumbest thing. So me offending someone for telling them to believe in Jesus is like everyone is offended at anything, right? So ultimately, if atheism is right, Christians are still living, for the most part, a relatively good, productive member of society from a scientific standpoint. We're still not trying to have a lot of sex because we can damage our bodies. There's some diseases you can only get through sex. We're not trying to drink and do drugs and do a bunch of things that are not beneficial to us or society. There's nothing bad that Christianity does if you're trying to obey the Lord. And if you fail and you sin, well, atheists have wrongs too, right? This is what I don't get. So if atheism is right, there's no point in converting to atheism or being an atheist because you're not doing anything different except you don't go to church, you don't read, you don't pray, and you're just living your best life now. Well, Christians are pretty much being productive members of society, teaching their children to do the same. There's no benefit to it, right? I don't understand well, let's have a debate. For what? I'm not debating an atheist, one, because there's no benefit for me to not believe what I believe, because if I'm more like you, then all I do is remove a few activities. I'm still trying to be productive in society. I'm still trying to do certain things. Those things don't change, right? They don't change. What if atheism is right? Then nothing really changes for the believer apart from a few activities and some allegiances. This is what I don't understand. So if you're an atheist watching, I'm sure you'll have a comeback. Listen, and I'm not trying to offend you in any way, shape, or form. I'm really not. I really hope that you would come to believe what I believe, and I will tell you why in a second. But if you're an atheist, I'm not trying to offend you. If you're watching live, if you're in I'm not trying to offend you. But let me just be honest. There's no benefit to believing what you believe over what I believe. There may be some allegiances that I can't have, but there's no benefit. There's nothing better about being an atheist because I would still want to be a productive member of society. If I'm resisting certain, what we call sins, certain temptations, that's still better for society. I'm not getting anything, right? But here's the real question, though. And this is the other side of the coin. And I'm typing this right now because I'm an idiot, and I should have typed this earlier. And my keyboard's been tripping. I don't know what you would call this. I call it the devil is trying to stop my keyboard, right? But then here's the other side of it, though. What if atheists are wrong, right? If atheists are right, what harm does it actually do to me as a Christian? Like if I die and I'm like, oh my gosh, there is no God, there's no heaven or hell, we just exist. We just existed, and then that's it. Let's just say we're all matter, right? My keyboard is really acting a fool right now. I want to fight it. It's not letting me type. It's the devil, right? He's in my keyboard. All right. If atheists are right, I don't lose anything. If you're a believer, you don't lose anything. But if atheists are wrong, then we have a problem. What if this? I'm trying to fix this right now. Hold on. It won't let me do this. This is really the enemy, because earlier when I was doing this, it was letting me type in and make an adjustment, and it's not right now. All right? So let's just wait to see if this happens. But what if atheists are wrong? If atheists are wrong, then you as an atheist, my friend, you have much more to lose than I do if you're right. So when you're trying to convert a Christian, if you're an atheist and you're trying to prove to a Christian that what we believe is nonsense and it's silly, I think where you're gonna have a problem is there's not really a benefit to you being right. So what if atheists are wrong? What if you're wrong? What if we're right, Christians are right? There is a God, there are standards, there is a hell, because listen, if you're an atheist, right, you have rules of relational conduct. If someone breaks your relational conduct rules, there are going to be consequences for your relationship with them, right? The girl who was yesterday in the video going back and forth with Frank Turek, if a man walks up to her and tries to kidnap her, there's going to be consequences, right? She gets away. She's going to want him to go to prison, right? There's going to be consequences. Every human being has consequences for relational conduct. If you hurt a person, they may forgive you, but they may cut off that relationship with you, right? That's their consequences. If you're wrong, atheists, and us Christians are right, if you're wrong, then there's a big problem. Because then that means there is a God, There are consequences for not having the relational dynamic in place, and those consequences will harm you forever, much longer than whatever I'm resisting or not benefiting from in this life is short term. We'd live to be maybe 80, maybe 90, maybe 100. Very few live to be longer than 110 years old. That's a short period of time. But if I'm right, eternity is long. Let me explain to you why you will be hard pressed to convince a Christian. Here's why. Because if you're wrong, here's what the word says about that. If atheists are wrong, which I think you are. Spoiler alert, all right? Here's what Jesus says, right here in verse 24, right here. Then Jesus told his disciples, if anyone would come after me, this is Matthew 16, beginning of verse 24. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever would save his life would lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what, this is verse 26, for what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay each person according to what he has done. Truly I say to you, there are some standing here that will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming. So here's the reality. If atheists are wrong, then there's a God who's going to come with his angels, and he's going to repay you for not believing in him. Now you can say, well, I don't care. That's fine. We're not talking about whether you think it's true. I'm just hypothetically saying, if atheists are right, what does Christians really lose? I don't think we lose anything. If atheists are wrong, you lose everything. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? So to say, if you're an atheist, I'm going to do what I got to do. I'm going to build up wealth. I'm going to do all these things and pass down to my kids. Fantastic. I know a lot of Christians who do those same things, but we just believe in an eternal God. All the things that you're doing, cool. But if you're wrong, you gain the whole world, but you forfeit your soul. Now, why does that matter? Because the next life, what we believe as Christians, is forever. This life, they say, is but a vapor. So if we were putting time together, as best as we can understand time, this life, in terms of time, would be relatively 38 seconds, right? So in terms of this life versus the next life, this is an analogy. This life is 38 seconds, right? Eternity is 30 million years. So for 38 seconds of my life, if atheists are right, then I'm living according to just pretty much good scientific standards, good societal behavioral standards, and I'm just I try to be a good person, and I die, and that's it. I move on. 38 seconds of time. But if atheists are wrong, well, there's 38 million years waiting when you die. So whatever you did in this life, however much you gained in this life, those 38 seconds will be drowned out by the 38 million years of eternity. So I'm saying this because these always come up, and atheists are always trying to convince me, and I don't even understand the logic. I don't even get it. Like, I don't even understand. Like, why would I even go back and forth with you, bro? Like, I don't even need to go back and forth with you at this point. Like, no shame. I'm not trying to belittle you. I'm just saying, even if you could convince me that you're right, atheists, even if you could convince me that you're right, there's just no benefit to following you, because I would essentially be trying to do the same things, except I just wouldn't go to church, I wouldn't pray, I wouldn't read, and I wouldn't tell others about Jesus. Okay. You say, well, yeah, well, you're offending people. Yeah, but you offend people by telling them who to vote for. That doesn't matter. So if you're a believer of the Christian tradition like me, I just think, don't fall into the trap. It doesn't, this stuff is like, okay, if you could convince me that I'm wrong. Now, if you say, what about another religion? Well, that's for a different video. But if you're atheist, there's no benefit. I'm trying to essentially still try to live a good behavioral, societal, scientific life, right? Why would I give up the possibility for eternity to just live on this earth and then try to do some of the same things I'm doing now for nothing? I'm sure I'm an idiot, but I ain't wrong. All right, so this is you, man. Holla at me in the channel. You know what I'm saying? Let's get it. All right, let me see. What's up, bro? Yep, good. It's right here, one of the best questions. What am I losing? I'll wait. Well said, my brother. Well, wait. Takes faith to be an atheist. Well, wait. Love your teaching. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you. All right, so let's get to this. What's your response to some atheists saying the most genocide being done in the name of religion? Is that even historical or numerically true? You know what, though? Even if that's true, let's just say that that's true, that more religions have done that right now, okay? There's a lot that's been done throughout history. I know that there have been, I don't know what religion Hitler was. I don't know what religion Genghis Khan was. I mean, I don't know if they did things in the name of religion or just doing things in the name of power, right? So you got the Crusades and you got different things that are done. And sure, people definitely power trip, no point. But I think humanity has proven that without religion, people sin in the same ways. I mean, how many people have, so I don't think more murders are committed in the name of religion than not, or more rapes, or more drug dealers, or people selling drugs because of the God that they serve. There's so many crimes and things that happen in the world that have nothing to do with religion, that if you took out religion, okay, fine, you have some people that didn't die for certain causes, but who's to say without religion, we don't know how the world would be. We don't know if the idea of religion, let's just say it's a placebo, the idea of religion actually makes people not do some things too, though, right? So we don't know how many people would do things if they didn't have this conviction to honor whatever God they serve. So even if that were true, even if the stats were true, it's not a well-held argument, because there's so many what we as Christians call sins committed that have nothing to do with religion. Did the pornography industry that destroys people's lives have anything to do with religion? What God are they serving? What's their theology? What about abortion? What are they, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like that argument doesn't really, to me, carry much weight, you know, because, and we're talking about right now, people are dying for a number of reasons, you know, people are doing stuff, governments, politics. I mean, those things are all important too. So I don't think that changes anything. I think at the end of the day, if atheists are right, I'm still going to try to live to be a productive member of society, and I'm not losing anything. So why would I leave the possibility of eternity, right, to be with Jesus and escape the consequences of rejecting a God who showed so much love? Why would I risk that to just do what? Do you know I could do almost all the things that I'm trying to do if I was an atheist? Still want to work hard on my career and make money and love my children and pass it down. Like, I would still do those things. So to me, I just think Christians, we get stumped by some of this stuff. I just think, for what? You were on the side of truth, my brother and sister. Do not be afraid. Do not worry about that stuff. Stand your ground. And then eventually the one who created the ground will stand with you. All right? Catch y'all when I catch y'all again. Good to see y'all. Thanks for like and subscribe to the channel. Right there, right there, right there, right there, right there. Go to KirkKennedy.com and get you some fit. I'm getting ready to put tees and stuff up because of the weather's changing. I got some new designs coming up soon, but go there right there. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. See y'all when I see you.